Good afternoon, and thank you for subscribing to my channel. And if you haven't, please go ahead and do that right now. But anyway, let me just talk to y'all for a minute. This is episode 11. If you haven't already looked at episode 10, you might want to go and do so now. Episode 11, somebody wants revenge on Ruby and the girls. I tell you, people just be trying, don't they? So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, okay? And turn on those notifications. But in the meantime, enjoy the show. See you on the other side. Bye. Introduction to the Planette. The Planette, a place for women, where women share ideas, where women contribute to a feminine society and community, educate one another, relate to one another. On June 1st, 1961, 34-year-old Ruby Severs was walking home from work one evening after finishing her shift at her job when she was encountered by a strange man. Ruby's husband did not come to pick her up because he was passed out intoxicated on the sofa at home, so she braved the 6 blocks to her house alone. She realized the man following her meant harm, so she began running. The street was quiet, and there was no one around to help her. She rounded the corner and found a door that led to an old warehouse and hurried inside, securing the door behind her. She was frightened and confused. She could only whisper the right words. "Help me. Please help me, somebody." After those words, she closed her eyes. When she opened them, she was in a strange place, another world she had never seen before. She saw a beautiful beach with clean water and white sand. The waves of the sea crashed, having a calming effect on her soul. The skies were blue, the bluest she had ever seen. There was no one else in sight as she looked around and discovered there were many resources which she later used to build up the place, to make it more inhabitable, to make it a home. Oh, she was excited. Ruby returned to Earth shortly afterward and told her husband about the beautiful place she had been. But he did not believe her. Instead, he had her committed to an asylum. But she escaped, and she made her way back to the warehouse with hospital staff chasing her. She uttered those words, "Somebody help me." Yes, somebody help me. Instantly, she was transferred back to the planet she discovered. Later, Ruby returned to Earth and told her 27-year-old friend Jackie about the planet, and they returned together and began building a home they now call the Planet. Welcome to the Planet, where women rule, where girls learn, where there are no men. Episode 11, Scene 1. The alarm sounded. All of the residents on Krail was snatched out of their sleep. It was not a usual alarm. It was a high alert alarm. They all moved towards the shelter bases, guided by officers and defenders. I wonder what's going on. Some of them asked. Caught on the radar, and we don't believe it's a friendly visitor, the officer said, ushering them to the bunkers. The bunkers were open and everyone made their way underground. They were not sure if the unwanted visitor had the ability to shake the planet or not. The bunkers contained all the essentials, so having to leave their homes was not a big deal with being inconvenienced. Liz was taken aback by the city beneath the Planette. There was food, water, bedrooms, kitchens, and even buggies to use in case someone had to get to another connecting bunker within a short time. Wow. How long have they been building this? Liz asked her friend Kendra as they settled in their living quarters underground. They started this like back in 1970s or something like that. I think that is it. Where's your mom, Kendra? She's on duty at the airfield. Your mom is so cool. Yeah, I know. Everybody always say that. But Liz, do you miss your mom? I miss her a lot. I wish she had done the right thing for herself, though. Yeah, I know. You ever want to get down there and visit her? Yeah, no, I haven't been down there. I just thought maybe later, you know. Yeah, I feel you on that, Liz. I feel you. Episode 11, Scene 2. As soon as Ruby received notification of the threat, she got out of bed and headed over to the airfield to meet a couple of defenders. Ande-et, where do you think you are going? Ruby asked. Ande-et had been living with her for nearly 5 months. Ruby enjoyed her company, but she knew she could help Ruby. Since arriving, Ande-et had created fire missiles from a plant they used during the time they were invaded. I am going with you, Ruby. No. You go to one of the bunkers. I want you safe. And I want you safe. Ruby looked at her roommate and laughed. She shook her head. Okay, Ande-et. I understand you want to protect me. I am more good to you by your side than in a bunker. By then, Ande-et's color had transformed from a deep purple to a light brown. Her hair had become wavy, but it was still jet black, and her eyelashes had grown. She still had large eyes and big, rosy-colored lips. Okay, carry on then. Grab your beige uniform. They arrived at the airfield. The defenders had formed a front. Weapons in position, ready to fire. There were at least 85 women holding the line. As the strange spacecraft drew near, the defenders began unloading on it, but the craft was able to dodge the missiles and evade contact. The ship sped off into the darkness, but the radar was still picking it up. We need to rethink our defense strategy, Ande-et said. Jackie was also present, and she rolled her eyes at Ande-et, wondering why they would change their strategy. What do you mean by that, Ande-et? Ruby asked. Invite the enemy to land and find out what he wants. Okay, so once we get them here... That doesn't make any sense, Ruby. We don't allow them to land. We could be vulnerable then. We could be taken over. You don't know who this is. Jackie cut in before Ruby could finish. I understand that, Jackie, but maybe Ande-et has another point here. What kind of a point? Our policy is never to invite them to land. Instead of listening to Jackie, Ruby decided to head to the observation base. Both Jackie and Ande-et accompanied her. Ruby told the defenders to remain posted. Okay, everyone, officers, offer communication with that ship. Yes, ma'am, we're on it right now. The officer said at one of the consoles. Ande-et stood near the officer while she reached out to the other party. Ruby headed towards the platform, watching the enemy ship on the monitor. Jackie followed her. Ruby, you've let down your guard a lot. Why would you listen to that little alien and follow what she's saying? Because I believe Ande-et, and she knows what she's talking about. What's gotten into you, Jackie? She even knows that within 200 years, Earth will try their hand against us again. Jackie crossed her arms across her bosom. Oh, really? If her predictions are correct, why didn't she see this coming? Jackie gestured at the monitor that displayed the enemy ship. Nobody saw this coming. She should have. You're being played, Ruby. What is with you these days? Why don't you like Ande-et? She's weird. Is that good enough answer for you? Jackie, you and I know good Ruby, well. We've made contact. They're on, the officer said. Before Ruby headed over to communicate with the opposer, she turned back to Jackie and said, we are not done with this conversation. I would hope not. This is Ruby. What can I help you with? The enemy appeared on the monitor, and Ruby thought she recognized him but could not determine where she had seen him before. Oh, you don't remember me, do you? I cannot say that I do. Then you might remember her. Just then, Cynthia appeared on the screen. She had been the woman who had invited her man to the planet to take over, and they were exiled to Planet Flap. What do you want? We were able to build our own ship from materials on Planet Flap. We are doing well, but we're here because a promise is a promise. I told you we would be back. So you want to take us over? Ruby asked. By then, Ande-et was by her side. You're way too smart for your own good, Ruby. Instead of responding to that, Ruby said, it's difficult for me to be able to speak with someone who has come all this way. Why don't you land and we'll meet on the airfield? Ruby! Jackie said, but the woman raised her hand to silence her best friend. You've changed in 3 years. And just think, I thought you ladies didn't need men. You mean 4 years? Are you going to land or what? Let's not waste any time here. Episode 11, Scene 3. Ande-et accompanied Ruby to the airfield, where the defenders were still holding the line. Jackie decided to stay behind at the observation base. The pair pulled up in their vehicle and hopped out. He hasn't landed yet, but when he does, we're going to fire him up. Officer Dean said she was the first commander of the front line. The enemy aircraft came into view and circled the area before finally landing. The door raised and the defenders lifted their weapons, ready to fire. Hold it, ladies! Hold your fire! Hold your fire! Officer Dean looked at her oddly. This wasn't like Ruby. The couple emerged from the spaceship. Ruby was repulsed by Cynthia's pick-me behavior. They had helped her get away from this man. He had been so violent that she'd run out of her house with barely any clothes on, and Kim, their Earth representative, had rescued her in the middle of traffic. The couple smiled as their feet hit the ground. It was always dark in the airfield because that part of the planet was positioned furthest from their sun and their solar system. but the stars were bright, and there were satellites stationed around them, and the huge lighting, almost like a battlefield. Cynthia pranced towards Ruby, but she received a warning from Officer Dean. "Don't come any closer, ma'am. Don't come. You stop right there." Cynthia stopped in her tracks and looked at Travis, which did not surprise Ruby, who rolled her eyes and glanced at one of the officers. "State your cause, please. After all, you are in our house." Ruby did not waver or back down. If this man thought she was afraid, he should think again. "I'm back for a second round. This time, I win."
"I see. You're back. Okay,"
Ruby said before glancing behind her at the officers. She stood between the enemy and her army.
"You either let me take over this place and surrender, or your whole population will suffer."
Just then, the loud sound of grinding permeated the air, and the defenders were momentarily distracted. While that happened, Travis grabbed Ruby, holding her as a hostage. The women aimed their weapons at him, but Ruby said,
"Hold your fire, girls! Ladies, hold your fire, please."
It was soon realized that Cynthia had caused the distraction, which made Officer Dean want to shoot her. She thought about going against Ruby's order to hold fire. Travis continued holding Ruby with a small weapon to her head.
"Perhaps you ladies will think about who you mistreat the next time."
He spoke as he inched to his aircraft. Ande-et stepped beyond the defense line, although she was told to stay back. She approached the man who held her best friend hostage.
"You should let Ruby go for your own good,"
Ande-et warned.
"Who is this creature? What are you?"
"She's cute though, Travis," his wife said.
"I am warning you, sir, or I would be forced to act on behalf of Ruby."
Look at us, Ruby. We did real good for ourselves. You didn't know we could be so state-of-the-art, making up our own spaceship.
Travis continued to taunt. Although their spacecraft could fly through space, it was not at all aesthetically pleasing. It looked more like a quilt with different types of materials used to put the thing together, but Ruby was impressed with the fact that they could build an engine.
"Let Ruby Seavers go."
Ande-et continued warning.
"Sorry, kid, but she's going with us."
As he made another attempt towards the spaceship, red beams of light came from Ande-et's eyes, making contact. The heat from the laser caused him to drop the weapon, and he shook his hand.
What the?
He yelled out in pain, followed by an expletive. That interaction gave one of the officers enough time to rescue Ruby. Ande-et stood on her post, staring at the couple.
You little weirdo, what are you?"
Travis bellowed at her.
"I am warning you to take your leave immediately."
The couple looked at the defenders. All of them had their assault weapons raised, ready to take them down. They knew they would not have any wins, and it was at that time that Travis realized he'd been set up by taking Ruby's offer to land. They were better off in space and able to evade whatever attempts would have been made to take them down. The couple began hurrying back to the spacecraft and closed the door after he threatened to come back one day.
"You will not have that opportunity."
Ande-et challenged. Once the small spaceship lifted, the defenders began unloading their weapons. Ceasefire! 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 Let them go. Cease fire.
Ruby, no. You're kidding me, right?
Officer Dean said as she watched their enemy escape. Ruby looked at Officer Dean and said, Angela, don't worry about it.
I don't believe this. I don't believe that. They are getting away, Ruby.
Ruby smiled and said, no worries. Andy, do your thing, girl. Show them what you got. Red laser beam extended from her eyes and landed on Travis's spaceship. It spun out of control until it exploded and dissipated in space. A burst of celebration erupted from the defenders.
Hey! Now that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah!
A burst of celebration erupted from the defenders. Episode 11, Scene 4. Ruby and Ande-et returned to the observation base. Some of the officers and security personnel were still on staff. Everyone was in a great mood, and one could tell the tension had been eased. They were about peace on the planet, but sometimes things had to be handled, and Ruby was so happy that crazy loud alarm was finally turned off. Jackie was in the parlor when Ruby returned. Ande-et entered the room right behind Ruby. I guess you've come to finish the conversation we were having earlier, Jackie said solemnly. It's fine, but you could have been killed, Ruby. Jackie was nearly in tears, but I wasn't. But you could have been. With that army out there? Are you kidding, Jackie? Ruby gestured, making reference to the defenders that held the line. I just think it was poor judgment.
I would not allow Ruby to be killed.
Ande-et said, that is not the point. Jackie, what's wrong? You've been behaving this way ever since Ande-et arrived. Jackie did not say anything. She turned towards the window, looking at the beautiful trees outside in the courtyard. Ruby followed, stood next to her. Jackie, we go way back. Jackie wiped her tears and said, I know. I've always been your right hand, Ruby. We built this place. I was always the only one who believed you when you told me there was life in another solar system. Oh, I know. And you're still my right-hand girl. Jackie glanced at Ande-et.
Believe what she is saying, Jackie.
Are you sure?
I am certain. Although you think I am an alien, I will not fail to protect Ruby.
Jackie looked surprised.
Yes, I heard you.
It was at that moment that they realized Ande-et could hear over long distances. Ruby didn't know why that would surprise her. Ande-et had told her that she saw her land on the shores in 1961.
But I am okay, because when you look at it, you are the alien.
Jackie looked at Ruby, and Ruby said, well, she's right, Jackie. We are aliens. This is her planet. Well, okay, Ande-et, you're right. She walked over to her and said, I'm sorry I've been acting that way. I hope you forgive me. We are women. We should not compete with each other. They hugged. Ande-et was fully grown, but was only 4 feet. Jackie's 5'7" height towered over her. There were times when Jackie had to remind herself of the reason competition amongst women occurred on Earth. Because men encouraged or incited it.
I forgive you. I understand.
Aww, isn't that cute? You two are getting along now.
Jackie then had a question. But what's going to become of Travis and Cynthia? Are they dead? Nobody reported to me the status of that.
Ruby looked to Ande-et to answer that question.
I did what I had to do. Your policy is not to destroy. That has never been the policy of the Krailian population.
Jackie and Ruby looked at each other and Ruby said, well, we did not destroy them.
Well, you're right about that, Ruby.
They would have come back.
Well, how do you know that, Ande-et?
Let's get something to eat. I haven't eaten in 18 hours.
That's a good idea, Ruby. Now, you ladies are not going to just shove this under the rug.
We'll discuss this over a meal,
Ruby said as the three of them exited the observation building. They got into her buggy and left the base. Can y'all believe the gall of Cynthia and Travis? Can y'all believe their gall, their flying, flipping gall to actually come back to try to take over their planet after they were exiled over to the planet Flip? Okay? Ruby and them was nice not to do anything, but Ande-et, isn't she the cutest thing? Oh, she's just adorable. She took care of business. So you don't mess with them folks out there in that universe or in that solar system. Anyway, stay tuned for episode 12 because we about to get deeper and deeper in it. All right, y'all. Take care and thank you so much for watching tonight. Goodbye.